Hey, it's Huck, and I'm going to make this really brief. I hope to upload maybe a little more in-depth video maybe in the next couple of days. But I just got done watching the debate, and I thought it was a substantial debate. I thought there were a lot of things that were very positive, both from Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. There were a few gaffes I thought that both people made at one point or another, small ones. But one of the things that I came away with, the last 5 minutes, I think that's going to get a lot of the attention, is this attack on Sanders by Hillary Clinton, accusing Sanders of being this staunch critic of Obama, and attacking him for his leadership and calling him a disappointment and calling him weak, and even promoting the idea, or at least making the suggestion, that perhaps in 2012, when he was running for re-election, that Obama should have been challenged with a primary opponent. So I wish that in his response to those criticisms, Bernie would have had the time or wisdom to put those criticisms in their proper context, which I think mainly for reasons of time, his ability to respond to that criticism really came right at the very end. And he was basically faced with either making a more substantial, contextual response, to those criticisms of Obama, or to give his, prepared closing statement. And you could see he kind of wrestled with, what should I do? Ultimately he went with his, his closing comments, and you can't blame him for that. So allow me to just take a moment to kind of put this into some kind of context that maybe you can understand. The truth is that I think Bernie's criticisms of the president have been very similar to some of my own. And I recall precisely when it was that I was most critical of President Obama. And there have been a number of issues, not just the TPP policy and not just, some of his war strategies that he's pursued, but more to the point, probably the thing that angered me most, and precisely the event that triggered these criticisms when Bernie Sanders called for a primary opposition to Obama in 2011, and when he said he was disappointed in Obama, was actually said when Bernie Sanders appeared, I believe it was in 2011, on the Thom Hartmann radio program. Now, Thom Hartmann, again, a very, very progressive liberal, a longtime radio host whose program is also aired on the Free Speech Network, which, if you have cable, you probably have that channel. And at any rate, it was during a broadcast of the Thom Hartmann show, where Bernie has been a frequent guest over the years, that President Obama had was trying to put together what I guess came to be known as the grand bargain, something that never, in fact, ever never really played out. Again, because of the obstinance, really, of the GOP. But what Obama was seeking was something that would resolve a number of long-standing problems, both with funding of our, our Social Security system, and also, with the need to bring in revenue. So what Obama was seeking with the grand bargain was some way of negotiating with Republicans that would resolve a lot of, long-term problems and finally be able to at least, safely take those off the board, for the next decade or so. And in proposing this grand bargain, if you recall, he had set up a commission during his first term, early in his first term, what later became known as the Bowles-Simpson Commission, which had made a number of recommendations on how to resolve a lot of long-standing funding problems in government. And among the suggestions that they made were, tax hikes in some cases, some tax reductions in other cases. But one of the more controversial aspects of their plan was that that there would be some cost cutting to Social Security and Medicare, and Obama was willing to see across the board cuts in the benefits delivered by Social Security in order to make this grand bargain. And that is what triggered Bernie Sanders to say, you know what, we need to pull this guy further to the left. If you looked at my video that I posted earlier today, this goes right to the heart of what I was talking about, what that whole video was about. That if you try to negotiate, if you try to compromise with Republicans today, the result of that compromise inevitably is going to lead to things like cuts in Social Security. In other words, taking a bad situation and making it worse. Further decline for low income and senior citizens, and really the most vulnerable people in our society are always the ones that seem to pay the highest price whenever anything gets done, when any kind of bargain gets done. So again, to put Bernie's disappointment in Obama, or failure of leadership, on the part of Obama, into context, you've got to understand that what he was reacting to was what, in his mind and mine as well, was this willingness to hurt, once again, the most vulnerable in our society, in this case senior citizens, in order to make, some type of budget deal and resolve some of the other problems that, had so long plagued, Democrats from getting done because of the obstinance and obstructionism of Republicans. And I, too, was disappointed in Obama with that. And I think what Bernie basically was saying was, maybe if he had a more liberal challenger, as he's running for re-election, who was espousing, a more progressive pathway, that challenger wasn't going to beat the incumbent president. I don't think anybody, including Bernie Sanders, felt that that would be the result. But what it might do is pull the president back from this center-right position to something closer to center-left, so that you're not hurting senior citizens with any grand bargain scheme you may come up with. And, on this, I agreed with Bernie Sanders, which kind of gets to the heart of Bernie Sanders' campaign we're experiencing this year. It's worth considering that Bernie Sanders only jumped into this election and launched his campaign because he felt that there wasn't going to be anybody that could drum up the kind of spirit and support that would pull the centrist Hillary Clinton on a more progressive path. And regardless of what Bernie Sanders' campaign manages to achieve the rest of the way, one thing I think everybody will have to agree to is the idea that his campaign, if nothing else, has moved Hillary on a number of issues to a more progressive path. I mean, her husband, Bill Clinton, when he ran for office in the '92 election, he was the new Democrat. He was the center-right Democrat. At that time, Democrats were fresh from losing elections. We had seen 2 terms of Ronald Reagan. We had seen a term of, President Bush, number 41, the first Bush. And, we had lost elections with people like Dukakis and people like, we had not had a lot of success, largely because it was perceived that the Democrats running were all too liberal. With Reagan, liberal became a dirty word. And so Clinton came along and was the new Democrat, the more conservative Democrat, who, among other things, campaigned on welfare reform and a lot of, criminal justice policies that, in today's day and age, we would consider extremely conservative. The one area that he promised to achieve during his election, healthcare reform, really withered away, thanks in part by, considerable opposition, not just from the Republican Party, but from the special interests involved that spent, literally millions of dollars in television ads and everything else to defeat Hillary Care. So I think Bernie Sanders had every reason to believe with Hillary's, pro-military, pro-war stance, in more recent years, and her husband's, 2 terms in office, to believe that she was going to be a somewhat conservative Democrat. And I really do believe that his campaign initially was launched for no other reason than to try to pull her toward more progressive policies, and to keep her from maybe running further to the right than she is in fact now running. And so by any estimation, the fact that Bernie Sanders has jumped into the race, from that standpoint, has already been successful. I don't think it would be fair to criticize him for his criticisms of Obama without keeping in mind that the context of those criticisms, particularly, his suggestion that maybe he ought to, President Obama should face a primary challenge during his reelection, in the effort to pull him, toward a more fair and progressive policy position, particularly on safety net issues. I don't think it's fair to criticize, Bernie Sanders as being, somehow anti-Obama. I think he was just trying to keep him honest. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of get that out there, and you can look that up, if you will, and to verify that what I'm telling you is exactly what actually happened. But other than that, I'd be kind of curious to hear what your thoughts were. I've been kind of following Twitter a little bit on my smartphone, and there's so many folks in media, Jonathan Capehart and Joan Walsh and Charles M. Blow, and just so many people that I follow on Twitter that are really, mouthpieces for Hillary Clinton. And it's almost like they serve as a rapid response team, for her campaign. If you follow their tweets during these things and read, any of the articles that they publish in the Washington Post or New York Times. So, Bernie definitely has his hands full, which I think is why he mentions the media as among the, many entities that he's battling in this campaign. At any rate, I'd be interested in hearing your opinion, and I'll let you go. Like I said, I'm going to try to upload something a little bit later this week and take maybe a deeper look at the campaign thus far, both Republican and Democrat. So have a good evening, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks for watching. I'm trying to shut this off. Don't you hate it when your smartphone doesn't work?